Let's talk about Ireland. Welcome to episode 45, pHumblepodcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and smash that bell so you don't miss a single episode, as well as my daily satire and comedy content from Pej the Maniac. I've been posting all of those on here as well. Also follow me on all my platforms: Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Pej the Maniac on all of those. All right, without further ado, let's talk about our 8-day trip to Ireland. Dublin, to be specific. What a difference, man. And good difference over there. It was fun, to say the least. A lot of emotions were involved on this trip. There was a lot of firsts for my mother-in-law. Now, for those who don't know, a few years back, my two brother-in-laws, now my full brother-in-law had done ancestry, and fortunately, my half brother-in-law, which we didn't know at that time, had also done ancestry from Ireland, is where he was raised and still lives. He also did ancestry, and they connected. So they were connected via ancestry, and that began a whole new amazing chapter in all of our lives, culminating on this trip that myself, my wife, my brother-in-law from America, and my mother-in-law who flew from DC, being this other brother-in-law, half brother-in-law in Ireland's mother, which is also my wife's mother, obviously, and my other brother-in-law's mother. So it was it culminated with this trip over there, and let me tell you, man, it was filled with emotions. There was a lot of good times, and we went over Christmas time, and Christmas in Ireland is like a whole different level. Like I thought America does Christmas pretty good until I went there. They don't stop celebrating Christmas after the 25th. They continue that whole week leading up to New Year's. I think they're still celebrating, to be honest. It was just, yeah, they do it differently there. It's a Roman Catholic country, right? So Christmas is a big deal over there. Anyway, I'm just going to take you through this timeline, and I want to talk about a few main highlights from this trip, both geographically and then also with the family ties and the emotions and all of that. Amazing trip. I can't say enough about it. We flew in to Dublin on the 24th, so Christmas Eve we flew in. So yeah, we flew in on Christmas Eve, morning of Christmas Eve. So 7 a.m. our plane touched down in Dublin Airport, or Dublin as they say. But here's the thing: 7 a.m. right? Sun is out. Nope, sun was not out. It was pitch black over there. We get off the plane, we get our bags, and we go and we meet up with this new family, right? For the first time, a lot of them. We had met Dara, which is my half brother-in-law, because he came to DC shortly after the ancestry discovery, and we met him in DC, Washington DC, where my mother-in-law lives. And then after that, the pandemic hit, and we couldn't see each other again until this trip, right? And obviously the pandemic isn't over, but we were able to travel again, at least with the proper vaccinations and the whole nine. So yeah, we meet this new family. So my wife is an aunt now, right? She has 2 nieces and a nephew there. We meet them. We meet the sister-in-law, right? Or, yeah, her sister-in-law being Dara's wife, Karen, her name is. We meet her over there, and it was amazing. We met all of them, and we're embracing them. First time we had only been talking to them through video chat on WhatsApp prior to this, so it was just really really cool. And we were waiting at the same time for my mother-in-law to come through because she was landing after us. I think we had an hour to kill, so we had some coffee there. We were catching up with everyone. The adopted parents were there. The adopted father was there, and so we were catching up with him. And he had come to DC the first trip with Dara, along with the adopted mom. So that was the start of our trip, and they told us it doesn't get light outside till around 8:30, which was crazy to me. Like 8:30 a.m. is when they actually start to see light. So first big difference was amount of daylight in Ireland versus in California. They only had at most maybe about 5 to 6 hours. It felt like only 3 hours of daylight, but I would say, to be fair, about 5 to 6 hours of daylight they had. And by about 4 o'clock, it's like pitch black again. It's dark. So, and they have dinner early there, dude. They have dinner super early over there. It's cool though. Again, like, I didn't mind that. I didn't mind any of it. It was just interesting to me. It was very, it was a different experience. You know, we were practically like right by the North Pole. That's how high up we were, and in Europe. So anyway, my mother-in-law she arrives, and of course she's hilarious, and she's meeting her grandkids now for the first time. Her daughter-in-law, and you know, the embrace game is strong. Everybody is lovey-dovey, happy, and we all get to the cars and we head over to the Airbnb that we had rented, and they drop us off there, and then Dara and his family, being his kids and his wife, they come up, they hang out with us that day, and then they go off. That we're now 8 hours ahead, right, from California time to Dublin time. It's an 8-hour difference. So we all kind of try to clean up, freshen up, and we met up again later that day. Now let me tell you quickly about the other couple highlights. One, we did the Christmas dinner at Dara's house. It was cool. They had prepared dinner, and it was really interesting and fun, and gifts and exchanging gifts and all of that. But what I really thought was the highlight of the whole week was when we went to the adopted parents' house, and we got to see where Dara basically grew up from the moment that my mother-in-law had to give him up as a baby. And quick backstory on that was she had to give him up because, you know, he was an illegitimate child. In other words, you know, it wasn't she was pregnant against her will. We'll just leave it at that. It's a heavy story. However, the result of it, her living in the Middle East at the time, in Qatar, they wouldn't have allowed her to bring him back. So she was shipped to Ireland to carry out the pregnancy and have Dara. And then the adopted family, they had signed up for helping a child and adopting, and they already had 2 daughters of their own, and this was going to be their first adoption, and they actually had signed up for a girl. It just happened to be ending up with Dara, a boy, of course, and you know, they were happy about it, and so they took him in, and so when we were at their house, this past week when we went over to the house. They took us upstairs to the room that Dara grew up in, and Shayda, my wife, was emotional and tears of joy, of course, but it was also like heavy because their lives were separated as a result of this for all these years, 37 years to be exact. Dara is actually 39 now because we met when he was 37, and he turns 40 this summer in June. So that's going to be a big one for him. But yeah, so that was a really heavy night. And then later on that night, the adopted parents, the adopted mom and my mother-in-law basically reshared the story, and they were discussing it with each other. It's almost 40 years we're talking about from the day that she had to give him up to these two lovely people from Ireland, these two parents. And it was emotional because they talked about it in detail, and how and my mother-in-law being so thankful, thanking them for saving Dara, right? Because she wouldn't have been able to keep him. They would and Qatar, they would have taken him away, and who knows what they would have done with her. It could have been ugly, right? It could have been jail time at best. So it was the right decision, right, to save Dara and save my mother-in-law. And so anyway, it was just, there were a lot of tears that night, but the family was bigger, better. We got closer. Everybody felt really warm. And I would say that was one of the biggest highlights of the week that we were there. The other couple cool things I wanted to mention was that we went to a city called Kilkenny. Not like South Park, they killed Kenny. It's actually Kilkenny, Kil, 1L, Kenny. And that was cool to me. And we went to a castle there, which was amazing. Like and it was like 7 different levels to it. Really interesting stuff. Like the history there is, it's massive, right? Like they have so much more history there from medieval times, right? They have all these castles and something you don't see in the States. So again, I took that in. That was fun for me. I like the food there. Even contrary to popular belief, they have a lot of potato, but I didn't eat that much potato there. I thought they had a lot of good fried chicken sandwiches that I particularly enjoyed. Seafood is a big deal there too. Like Christmas dinner, we had a lot of seafood, and sorry, not seafood, but for Christmas dinner we actually had some turkey. I want to say it was turkey or ham. Sorry, it was ham. Yeah. Oh, and by the way, the day after Christmas is called St. Stephen's Day over there, and it's basically Black Friday for them is what, and they had a bunch of sales, and Shayda went there and she went bananas in euros. She went bananas and bought a bunch of stuff. And so anyway, couple cool things about the differences there with Christmas week. And what else? We also we had to take COVID tests before we come back to the States, and this was fun. There was nowhere in Dublin or anywhere nearby that was available to have professionally administered COVID tests for PCR or antigen tests. The closest one was 2.5 hours south in the country, in a city called Cork. So, and we had to have the test administered and the result the day before our trip back to America, which would have been that Friday, New Year's Eve, the 31st of December. So, Dara's adopted sister's husband was nice enough to take us all, and we made a day of it, drove us down, gave us a bunch of historical facts as we were driving down the freeway on the wrong side. That was also interesting. But, it was cool. It was like there's art. He would call it art for no reason throughout the freeway as we were going down. So they commission artists to put their art, sculptures, statues, whatever it was, at different points of the freeway. By the way, there's like a million roundabouts in Ireland. That was also very interesting to me. And they, of course, go the opposite direction. And so it could have been a mind fuck if you're not used to that. Last time I remember the steering wheel being on the right side and you driving on the left, meaning like the whole car is on the left side, opposite of the States, was when I was in Pakistan, when I lived there for 7 months before coming to the States. They are also, their driving is also exactly like how Ireland and England is. So anyway, that was interesting to me. Anyway, we got into Cork and we made a day of it, got our test done. We all came back negative, and then spent some time there. There was some nice area to see in that part of town. And then we drove back up, and that was it. We were so exhausted. We packed our bags, and we flew back early morning on the 1st. But man, yeah, what a trip. It was amazing. I think, oh, by the way, Conor McGregor is not that popular over there. So my brother-in-law took me near the gym that he started training at when he was younger. Conor did, as a boxer. And he told me, he's like, in Dublin, all throughout near the gym and anywhere else in Dublin, he was like, did you see any picture of Conor? And I didn't. So I think he's kind of looked at over there like how Jake Paul is looked at in America. It was funny because my brother-in-law was like, oh, I think Jake Paul's so cool. And I was like, that's literally how you guys feel about Conor is how we feel about Jake. My opinion on that is Conor would destroy Jake Paul. So, but anyway, on a tangent there. But yeah, what an amazing trip. Very emotional, but also very fun. A lot of laughter. It was just really, like, I recommend it. If you haven't been there, I think you should go. Get ready for 20 minutes of daylight. But other than that, I thought it was really fun. And we went to a zoo there as well. We did movie night at Dara and Karen's house. That was a hilarious night. I mean, we were laughing so hard. Oh, and I was the only dry person, I think, in the country, right? Like, drinking is just a normal thing there, as most of you know. And we went also to the Guinness safe house, which is basically where they built it's like the main factory where they have so much history there. So they've turned it into a museum. So we went and got to see that. They had 0% alcohol version of the Guinness, which I tried, and I'm not a fan of that. So apparently Guinness is one of the leading favorite drinks out there, followed closely by Heineken, which is not it's not Irish, but it's Dutch, right? Or from Holland. So they those are the two most popular beers over there, and then whiskey, of course. But anyway, yeah. So it was a lot of fun nights there and days when there was daylight. I keep giving Dara, my brother-in-law, shit about that, but it was an amazing time, and I would go again. I'd definitely go back to Ireland. There was a couple things that I didn't do there that I wanted to do. For example, was to go into a pub where they have live music, live jig, and so we couldn't do that this time because of COVID protocols. Everything closed down early, right? Over there, everything closed at 8 p.m., which is not normal. Normally, they're open way into the night. So next time, hopefully. Let me know if you've been to Ireland. If you've been to Dublin or other parts of Ireland. Cork, Kilkenny, or anywhere else, because those are the parts of Ireland we visited. But yeah, I like the culture there. Let me know what your thoughts are on how they celebrate Christmas there, if you've been there during Christmas or any other point of the year. It was exciting. And yeah, man, hella jet lagged when I came back. Still feeling it to a degree, but I think we are we're slowly adjusting back to California time. All right. That's all I had for episode 45. It was an Irish focused episode. I put a bit up there on my on the YouTube channel and also on my TikTok and Instagram pages about like the first day in Ireland and how my accent changed. So if for some comedic relief, you go ahead and check that out. But that's all I have, guys. So this is episode 45. Make sure again you subscribe and let me know if you've been to Ireland and if you haven't, and if you want to go to Ireland. And if you have gone to Ireland, give me some suggestions that I didn't partake in that I mentioned earlier on this episode. I'd love to hear from you. So, yeah, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell and follow me on all my social media outlets. And I will see you next week.